Rich elder from the Department of Health called me very early on a Saturday morning. He asked me, like, what are you doing with your water currently? And I said, oh, we're just brushing our teeth. And he's like, you need to stop brushing your teeth right now.
Nous sommes à Hoosick Falls, un village de l'État de New York de 3000 habitants aux États-Unis. En 2014, Emily reçoit cet appel et découvre que son eau du robinet est contaminée au PFOA, une molécule de la famille des PFAS, des substances chimiques cancérigènes pour l'humain. Cette découverte, le village la doit à Michael Kay, un de ses habitants qui a passé plusieurs mois à enquêter sur le sujet.
He's this unassuming insurance underwriter with a fear of public speaking. The only reason he'd gotten involved is because he'd lost his father to kidney cancer.
I never saw him drink, I never saw him smoke, and there wasn't any rhyme or reason for him to be sick the way that he was. So I thought that, with a lot of the other illnesses that we had in our community, that, there had to be something. So I started doing research in what ties everybody together. That's the water.
Au-delà de la pollution de l'eau, la ville d'Hoosick Falls a une autre particularité. Le PTFE, plus connu sous la marque Téflon, est un matériau imperméable super pratique qui permet notamment à nos vêtements Gore-Tex d'être résistants à l'eau ou à nos poils Tefal de ne pas accrocher. Or, il se trouve que le Téflon a pendant longtemps été fabriqué à partir du PFOA, ce PFAS que l'on a justement retrouvé dans l'eau. Et devinez quoi, depuis 1955, la région de Hoosick Falls est l'un des berceaux de l'industrie du téflon aux États-Unis, abritant plusieurs usines qui ont connu différents propriétaires et fermé les unes après les autres. Mais l'une d'entre elles est toujours en activité à Hoosick Falls, et elle est détenue depuis 1999 par le géant français Saint-Gobain. Si cet industriel s'est fait connaître pour des vitres de voitures ou de trains, Saint-Gobain est connu ici pour enduire des tissus de téflon afin de les rendre imperméables. Et ça pollue sévère.
So I went to the lab in West Virginia, got a kit, tested the water supply here, and it came back positive. It was 480 parts per trillion. And it started the whole process, and the state got involved, then the EPA got involved. I ended up going to Washington and testifying in front of Congress.
Cette année-là, Michael venait d'ouvrir la boîte de Pandore.
Another public health emergency has been playing out in upstate New York. Residents now fear that the water they've been using to wash their dishes, bathe in, and drink for decades is making them sick.
Because I lived in Hoosick Falls when I was younger, I qualified to get my blood tested. And then we waited months for those results, and I opened them in a very specific order because I knew whose would be least, and that would be my son because he wasn't home on weekends, and he was 103 parts per billion. And then I opened my daughter and she was 207. And then I opened my own and I was 338. I actually had my very first anxiety/panic attack and wound up in the emergency room. That's the first and only one I've ever had.
This was actually my parents' house. This is where my mom and dad lived. My mom passed away a few months ago, so we just sold her house. That's where they lived though. So her address is 12 McCaffrey Street. The factory is 14. Down here. This is the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, so my dad worked at this factory, and so did my mom as well. So there's about 100 people that work here, and there's about 100 people that work at the other facility.
Okay.
And they are still manufacturing PTFE Teflon.
Yep.
And so eventually he felt confident enough that he went to the family doctor, Marcus Martinez, who's also one of the most beloved figures in the community. Marcus thought there might be something to his theory because he in his own practice had documented such high rates of rare aggressive cancers. Before I started reporting this book, I had never heard of ulcerative colitis. I cannot tell you how many people I've met who have ulcerative colitis, which is one of the diseases associated with PFOA.
Mais malgré les alertes du docteur Marcus Martinez et de Michael, la mairie et l'État de New York refusent d'informer la population du danger que le PFOA représente. Pire encore, ils refusent d'interdire la consommation d'une eau pourtant ultra contaminée. Le département de la santé de l'État est même allé jusqu'à affirmer qu'il n'y avait pas de risque pour la santé à boire cette eau, car il n'existait à l'époque tout simplement pas de normes pour le PFOA dans l'État de New York. Pas de normes, pas de problème. Alors au lieu d'attendre que les autorités prennent réellement la mesure du problème, Marcus et Michael ont compris qu'ils allaient devoir aller au devant de ce combat et embarquer derrière eux toute la communauté.
mean, no amount of money can make up for our friends and family that have lost their lives, our friends and families that have illnesses associated with these diseases. But it's the only way to hurt the corporations is to hit them in the wallet.
Pour autant, même si Emily était prête à s'engager dans la bataille, Michael sait que batailler contre Saint-Gobain à Hoosick Falls, ce n'est pas anodin.
It's very difficult, right? Because they're concerned about the jobs, right, in the economy. And I feel at times that these companies take advantage of that lifestyle, right? Where they say, all right, they're factory workers. They don't have any other options. And a lot of it, I believe, is true, right? That my dad, I know, even if he knew the risk, he would still go and do this job, right? Because he wanted to provide for his family.
It is the largest employer and the largest private taxpayer in Hoosick Falls. The community is incredibly reliant on it. They'd spent their lives trusting that there were systems in place to protect them, and now that trust had been shattered.
It was the credibility of the doctor, right? He was a strong supporter in the overall health of the community, and he knew what we were doing was right. So a lot of community members stood behind him. It's really hard for a lot of people to understand the complexity of these chemicals, because people, when they think of a water contamination, they think that you're going to see a cup of brown water, right? And it's going to be brown. But with these chemicals, you can't see them, you can't smell them, you can't taste them. So it was, you know, us having the science knowledge and being like-minded and thinking that we were going to make a difference in the right way.
En décembre 2015, le docteur Martinez et Michael font éclater le scandale, en racontant tout au journal local Times Union. Aujourd'hui, l'eau est redevenue potable à Hoosick Falls, mais cela n'est pas suffisant pour les habitants qui doivent faire face à des frais de santé à cause de leur exposition au PFAS et à une dévaluation du prix de leur maison à cause du bruit du scandale.
We've made a lot of progress, a lot further than any other community, really, and probably the country at this point. We've accomplished everything that we set out to do. It took 10 plus years to get here. It was all about $25 million from each company. There's 4 companies that were involved. There was Saint-Gobain, Honeywell, 3M, and the final settlement is DuPont. So there's been multiple different avenues of lawsuits, right? So there was a property devaluation one. There was medical monitoring. They also had to pay the village for the nuisance penalty that they had to pay there. But then there was probably another $100 million that was involved to pay for the new water system.
The blue building?
Yep. So the big blue building,
yeah,
right? That's where the carbon filters are.
Okay, so it's very new, it didn't exist before.
No, that part of the building did not. And those are the new wells. They were just activated back in April.
Okay.
So these are brand new. Overall, there's probably $250 million that have gone out to, you know, about 4,500 citizens.
Triste ironie de l'histoire, le docteur Marcus Martinez, qui se battait contre le nombre anormal de cancers à Hoosick Falls, est décédé en 2023 d'un cancer. Il soupçonnait l'eau potable d'être à l'origine de sa longue maladie.
In the end, Michael won this mammoth legal victory, Michael and the people of Hoosick Falls, you know, but the community lost. It really, I don't know that it makes up for the enormous losses that the community has suffered.
You know, people always think that there's financially driven reasons, right? It's just the way the world that people think that it's about money. But for me, it was always about my dad, and it was always about the kids on the bus. It was about what was doing what was right.
Aujourd'hui, Saint-Gobain reste présent à Hoosick Falls, mais il faut savoir que l'industriel français avait déjà déplacé une partie de ses activités de production de tissus en téflon dès 2001. Pourquoi ? Eh bien parce que Saint-Gobain estimait que la réglementation environnementale sur la pollution de l'air était trop dure. Alors ils ont fermé une autre usine située à côté d'Hoosick Falls, à North Bennington dans le Vermont, pour la déplacer dans le New Hampshire, à Merrimack. Et comme vous pouvez vous en douter, les mêmes causes produisent les mêmes effets.
On va aller rencontrer Lorraine Allen, qui est une activiste qui se bat contre les PFAS, aussi ici les PFAS de Saint-Gobain. Et elle s'est battue pendant plusieurs années pour que l'eau soit potable, pour que la contamination au PFAS cesse. Et elle a reçu il n'y a pas très longtemps le prix Goldman de l'environnement. C'est un peu l'équivalent du prix Nobel en matière environnementale.
Well, when we were told this happened, it was very minimized, and I think in this area, you know, it's not such a big problem. 2 of your 6 public wells are You know, they're over a level that's considered problematic, but we don't really know if it's really a problem. You know, everything's it's fine around here. So I said, why is this being reported on and why are they reporting it? And the state says, oh, we're investigating. Something is not right.
En 2016, le scandale éclate à Merrimack. Saint-Gobain a laissé du PFAS s'échapper depuis les cheminées de son usine, d'après une enquête de Mediapart. Et cela semble avoir un impact sur la santé des habitants. Le taux de cancer du rein a augmenté de 42% entre 2009 et 2018 dans la ville. Bref, Lorraine ne pouvait pas rester les bras croisés.
By January 2017, we had a formal group. We have library meetings, people, it varied, who'd come in, who'd want to know things, who had questions, who stuck with it. But there was a core group of people who were really messaging on social media, who really got it. And those folks I kind of pulled in and created a leadership team. So I have this big piece of paper and I'm saying, okay, what we all have in common here is persistence. So I make all these columns over all the different needs. Let's just all become specialists and like mini managers, and then when we all come back together, we'll report back and we'll help each other. I looked at this, I found this about a year ago in the drawer, and I go, a lot of years have gone by. I start going through it, and I say, what would I add to it today? I said, it's all there. Humans are funny, you know, and if you're living in an area where you think, I have a nice house, I have a good job, this shouldn't be happening to me, just take care of it, or I'll filter my water and keep going. You know, I can't rest till everybody's safe.
L'association Merrimack Citizens for Clean Water a écrit dans la foulée, et l'une de ses premières revendications est d'installer des systèmes de filtration de l'eau dans les écoles publiques. Si des filtres ont été mis en place, l'association n'a pas obtenu de Saint-Gobain qu'il paie le coût de fonctionnement des filtres. Pourtant, Saint-Gobain affirmait à Mediapart en 2023 être engagé dans les efforts de dépollution des sols. Même devant les tribunaux, le combat a aussi été compliqué.
There was a class action suit, but it was limited to private wells in a very small area, and because they couldn't include the public water customers, because the argument was, well, all the wells are interconnected, you can't prove who drank from what water. The state went behind closed doors with Saint-Gobain to negotiate the deals with them. Hoosick Falls and Bennington did their own. They had a seat at the table. They were dealing directly with their towns and their attorneys with Saint-Gobain. In this town, the state was in that role.
Et puis en 2023, Saint-Gobain a fait une annonce.
We start with breaking news this afternoon. Saint-Gobain Performance Plastics is closing its Merrimack facility.
L'usine a été démolie en 2025 et il ne reste aujourd'hui plus qu'un terrain vide et une vaste pollution. Mais pour Lorraine, la fermeture de l'usine est une victoire longtemps attendue.
We shut them down. No one's done that, you know? So we did, and I know we did. They said, oh, we restructured. No, Hoosick Falls is still open.
Ces deux combats contre Saint-Gobain et ses PFAS ont eu deux issues très différentes. À Hoosick Falls, l'industriel français a accepté de payer des millions, mais l'usine est restée. À Merrimack, c'est tout l'inverse. Mais Michael et Lorraine s'accordent sur une même chose pour éviter que le cauchemar ne se répète.
And does your father know that something weird was happening? Or
not really, no. You know, that was the hard part. Like, I was probably the most highly educated one in my family that only went to college. Yeah. And, you know, they were a lot of the factory workers here and they just worked, right? Yeah. They worked and they didn't think anything of the chemicals that they were working with. So they take advantage of the blue collar lifestyle and they take advantage of citizens that aren't as educated.
We can push by telling the truth, by educating people, and by engaging across the aisle everybody, not just who you voted for, but everybody, to tell your story and show them that you're informed and that you have all the people in your community who really know what's going on, because that becomes a political threat.
Ce que je retiens de ces 3 semaines passées aux États-Unis entre octobre et novembre 2025, à essayer de comprendre comment les Américains gèrent le scandale des PFAS, c'est qu'ils ont à la fois beaucoup d'avance sur nous en France et beaucoup de retard. Parce qu'en vérité, la situation dépend beaucoup d'un pouvoir politique à l'autre, d'un État à l'autre. L'État du Maine est très en avance grâce à une grande campagne qui a permis de retrouver les terres agricoles contaminées au PFAS, de proposer des solutions aux agriculteurs. Et comme on vient de le voir, les États de New York et du New Hampshire sont beaucoup plus à la traîne, ne prennent pas les mesures qui s'imposent.
Mais le point commun que je vois avec la France et qui m'a frappé, c'est que ce sont les riverains des usines, les habitants, des citoyens qui doivent prendre leur propre santé en main et la protection de notre environnement. Ils payent à travers des taxes et des impôts des administrations de santé publique qui sont censées faire ce travail. Je ne dis pas qu'elles restent nécessairement les bras croisés, mais elles se réveillent trop souvent quand tout est déjà trop tard, quand les corps sont contaminés, quand les cancers sont arrivés, quand les morts sont enterrés. Et ça m'afflige de voir la même chose se dérouler actuellement en France. J'ai trouvé aussi très intéressant aux États-Unis le système de class action, de plainte collective. Mais il a une force et une faiblesse. Ces plaintes permettent de déboucher sur de gros accords financiers pour les victimes des PFAS, mais ces accords évitent aux industriels des procès qui pourraient mettre en jeu leur responsabilité pénale. Car un pollueur qui signe un accord, c'est un pollueur qui n'est pas condamné. Pourtant, dans bien des cas, je pense que l'on pourrait parler de crimes environnementaux. Car l'industrie des PFAS est au courant depuis des décennies des conséquences désastreuses de ces molécules chimiques sur notre santé. Ils ont testé le sang de leurs salariés, ils ont mesuré les rejets à la sortie des usines. Bref, ils savent. Ils continuent de faire jusqu'à temps que quelqu'un se rende compte du problème, la thune avant tout. Mais la bonne nouvelle, c'est que plus les riverains se mobilisent, plus les journalistes enquêtent, plus les citoyens sont informés sur les dangers que représentent les PFAS, plus on a de chances de s'en sortir. Et le vent serait peut-être déjà en train de tourner.
The only way to address the PFAS crisis is to turn off the tap, because once they're out there, we really don't have a way to eliminate them. And that's already beginning to happen, sort of organically as a result of regulation on the one hand and litigation on the other hand. For example, in the United States, 30 US states have passed a total of at least 200 bills restricting PFAS. At the same time, you have this tidal wave of litigation, so there's more than 15,000 lawsuits pending against manufacturers in this country. And as a result of these two factors, you already have large swaths of the economy moving away from PFAS. So 3M, the world's largest manufacturer, has announced that it is going to quit producing them by the end of this year. There's no real solution to PFAS contamination. There is only stopping or slowing the accumulation. And that's why turning off the tap is so crucial.
Cette vidéo est extraite de mon reportage pour Reporter. Je vous mets le lien de l'article juste en bas. Ce travail d'enquête, d'écriture, de tournage, de montage, on l'a réalisé bénévolement. Et ça nous a même coûté un petit peu d'argent. Alors si vous avez aimé cette vidéo et que vous voulez nous aider à rembourser nos frais, n'hésitez pas à nous faire un don. Le lien est juste en dessous. Salut!